the best way to do this is to legalize this institution, right? And I'll give you reasons why. Everybody talks about, or majority of the people who are opposed to legalizing prostitution are of the opinion that it increases crime rates, it increases the level of HIV/AIDS, it does that and it does that. And Yomi Shogunle said prostitutes don't pay tax. Exactly. I'll give you an example. So if we legislate on prostitution and legalize it in Nigeria and say that, okay, for you to practice prostitution, first of all, you need to have a license to practice prostitution. If you have a license, for you to obtain a license, you need to pay 500,000 renewable every year. If you are saying 500,000, how many prostitutes or commercial sex workers or even Nigerians can afford 500,000 for a license? That automatically does what? It raises the bar and reduces the number of prostitutes on the streets.
That is not true.
Let me finish, sir. Let me finish, sir. So you do that. Then secondly, you begin your profiling and you give everybody an identification number. Once you have an identification number and you're profiled based on your health, whether HIV positive or whatever it is, and all that, so everybody knows. So your profile is somewhere in a database or that. Now, criminality of armed robbery, prostitutes and armed robbery, people say they go hand in hand most of the time. That armed robbers use prostitutes. So a prostitute who knows that she has, or a sex worker who knows that she has a number, an identification number, will be careful because she knows she can be tracked. Thirdly, so she won't be engaged in all that. So thirdly, a sex worker, most of these sex workers take drugs before they are bold enough to come out to do whatever trade they want to do. Now, they now know that this trade is legal. They know that it's legal, so they don't have to take drugs to stand on the streets. So it reduces the level of drug intake in the society. So these are the things that we are talking about. But for somebody to wake up and tell me that they want to police what I do with myself, I think that is totally wrong.
I just woke up to tell you that.
Okay. Before you counter,
yes,
you do know what he described as basically what happens in the Netherlands, a country that legalizes prostitution.
Yes.
And I can tell you, haven't lived in the Netherlands. I was just talking to him. During the weekends, you can barely step in Amsterdam. A lot of people come from all over Europe. Yes, they're in the windows. So he's bringing in an idea that you could actually get them to pay tax, protect them, which is what the Netherlands have done. Can it be done in Nigeria?
But it's a very slippery slope. And there are two reasons why I think that this is not a good idea. The first one is this. The Netherlands that you have ascribed to is a very sophisticated society. I've been there, and I've been to many other countries that would do things similar to that. And I've lived in one for many years. And they do that. In England, you can be legally an escort. An escort, you go, and they call them many fanciful names. And council here has used a name as a sex worker. Sometimes they call them social escorts. Sometimes they call them social companion. And they use all these names to glorify something which I think is abhorrent to nature and to society. So for my first reason for counter against this is that we don't have the sophistication that council wants to ascribe to a process like this, where you have everybody on a data bank, everybody is checked for HIV and everything like that. That's the first thing. We don't have the sophistication to be able to police and manage that as they would do in Netherlands. The second reason I would go to this is this. With the economy that we have, even in the Netherlands, there are people who want shortcuts to that process, because to go through the legal process, to have the shops in Netherlands, and then they come out and stay there and go through government administration processes. Of course, it takes money, and not everybody, those that are not HIV status safe, would want to still engage in this same practice. So what did it do in the countries where there's prohibition of marijuana, of drugs, in Saudi Arabia? What happens to countries like that, where there's prohibition? things go underground. So the prostitute who is not able to fork out the 500,000 to get registered and wants to cut or who has hepatitis or other diseases, what would they do? They will run their own little show by the side and make sure that it's cheaper and everything. And who wants to go there? The bricklayers, the common people who have, I don't know how much they want to spend on that, 2,000, 5,000, 3,000. Who would they go to? They don't go to the high-class people. So my point is two. The first one is that we don't have the sophistication to engage in any sort of managed process. And secondly, what it will do, it will be to drive it on the ground and cause even more problems.
And here's my thought as well. Here's a thought generally. I mean, if they're going to go through all that, definitely it's going to cost so much to get, to sleep with a prostitute. Let me finish this thought. To sleep with a prostitute. And just like he said, there are going to be underground ones who are probably going to be even more vulnerable than the ones we have right now. But there is another idea out there. Some people have claimed that prostitutes actually reduce rape numbers in the society. Imagine a situation where you didn't have prostitutes to go to, then that is a thought. I'm not saying that's what I agree to, but some people have put out that thought that prostitutes reduce rape incidences because they're there offering services to the so-called bricklayer or to people who can't, be in relationships and all of that. And let's not forget too, it's not just the common man who goes to these prostitutes. We have high-class, powerful people who still have this desire to pick up the ones on the streets. So how do you manage a situation like that? You wanted to respond to what he said. We'll just do that in a bit and then move on to one last aspect.
You see, the issue of making prostitution, or sex work itself, look like it's something that is different from our society is actually very wrong. Prostitution is one of the most oldest professions in the world. Now, prostitution has been in existence right from the beginning. Now, you can't now say you want to fight it because you've tried. Generations have tried and they haven't. So if you've been trying to break a wall and the wall is not moving, what do? You lean on it. Right? So if you legalize this prostitution with checks and balances, and I beg to differ once again, sir, when you talked about the fact that Nigeria, we are not developed and we are not this, we are not that. I believe that we now have a more functioning transport system, which is Uber and all that. My mom has an Uber app on her phone. If she wants to order an Uber, she goes, get a taxi and moves. Why can't we order prostitutes from our phones with their identification numbers? We go and do TSA. Before now, it looked like TSA was very, very something that was never going to be achieved. But every now and then, if you want to do any payments to the government establishment, you go on the internet. People now write jam online. So why can't we, for once, come out of this way of thinking that, we are not there yet and we are not there yet. If we are serious about this thing, we can get it right. And you made mention of the fact that bricklayers, there will be underground dealings and all that. Now, it will be the role of law enforcement to ensure that they enforce these things and ensure that people who have not gotten to the standard of sex work, of the standard the government has put, are now arrested and dealt with. And I won't be here shouting if that happens, because there are laws and there are institutions that everybody must obey.
We do have to wrap this up. This is probably not going to end. And now, as you see how heated it is, so it is in so many different circles, and we want to get your opinion on this matter on the comment section of this video. A big thank you to you, Mart Ogbonna, for giving us a feisty conversation here. Thank you for the work that you are doing, and hopefully we will talk to you more on this matter. Barrister Cosmos, we're so grateful that you took our time to give us another perspective of this ongoing conversation. We are grateful. And you've been watching Root Cause right here on Rootstv Nigeria. My name is Gloria Oje Emode.